In this video, I'm going to show you the phrases to say ¿Cómo estás?, which are not taught in your Spanish textbook. I'm also going to show you how native speakers respond to ¿Cómo estás? I'm also going to tell you what are the best situations to apply each one of these expressions, and I'm going to share my go-to phrases. I have classified these expressions in 3 different groups: daily expressions, phrases to use when you haven't seen someone in a long time, and situational phrases. Instead of saying ¿Cómo estás?, you can say ¿Qué tal? In most countries, ¿Qué tal? Includes a greeting, but also a way to ask people how are you. In Mexico, however, ¿Qué tal? Sounds incomplete. If we want to use it to ask people how they're doing, we are going to say ¿Qué tal estás? And we are going to conjugate estar to address different groups of people. A variation that you can use is ¿Qué tal todo? The next expression that we use instead of ¿Cómo estás? Is ¿Cómo te va? And with ¿Cómo te va? You're not going to conjugate anything, but you are going to change the indirect object pronoun if you're addressing other people. If I'm addressing my elderly neighbor, I'm going to say ¿Cómo le va? ¿Cómo te va? Means how is it going or how are you doing. You're not going to use this expression in formal environments. Now, I want you to be careful with something. You cannot say ¿Cómo te vas? Because in that case, you're not asking people how they're doing. You're asking how are you living. You're asking what means of transportation they are going to use to go somewhere. That's not what we want to do. Next, ¿Cómo andas? I know what you're thinking, andar means to walk. You're right, it does mean to walk. However, in informal Spanish, we use andar as a synonym of estar. As a result, we're able to use this verb to ask people how are they. ¿Cómo andas? How are you? Just like you will do with estar, you are going to conjugate andar to address different groups of people. I'm going to say ¿Cómo andan? If I'm talking to my friends. The next one means everything okay? ¿Todo bien? You can use it, just like in English, to ask your friends or acquaintances if they are doing okay, but also in customer service. So a waiter can come to your table and say, ¿Todo bien? ¿Necesita algo más? Is everything okay? Do you need something else? So we just covered daily life expressions. Now I'm going to teach you the expressions that you can use when you haven't seen people in a long time. This is my bread and butter because I'm such a terrible friend. So let me show you the first expression that you're going to use, and you're going to love it because you don't have to conjugate. ¿Cómo va todo? How is everything going? You're not going to change anything here. You're just going to use it this way. The only catch is that this is an informal expression, so make sure you use it in the right context. Some common variations you can use are ¿Cómo van las cosas? O ¿Cómo va tu vida? How is your life going? I know it sounds a little bit dramatic. So the next one is ¿Cómo has estado? And we're using the present perfect to ask about the past, but also up to this moment in the present. ¿Cómo has estado? Needs to be customized by conjugating the verb haber. So if I'm speaking formally, I will say ¿Cómo ha estado? If I'm speaking to a group of friends, I will say ¿Cómo han estado? And since the present perfect allows you to talk about the past up to this moment in the present, the next expression also uses this tense. ¿Cómo te ha ido? And in this case, you are not going to conjugate, but you are going to change the indirect object pronoun depending on the person that you're addressing. If I want to sound more formal, I'm going to say ¿Cómo le ha ido? I can also use this expression to ask for more information. I can use en to ask about places. ¿Cómo te ha ido en la escuela? I can use con to ask about people or activities. ¿Cómo te ha ido con tu novia? The expressions you just learned are great for many situations. However, we also have expressions for specific cases. For instance, ¿Cómo sigues? And this expression is very special because you are going to use it when you want to follow up with a person. So let's imagine that my friend Clara is sick or she's going through a rough patch. I just want to follow up with her, so I will say, Oye, ¿cómo sigues? Hey, how are you doing? In this case, you are going to conjugate seguir to address different people. I could go and ask my brother, Hey, ¿cómo siguen mis papás? ¿Cómo te encuentras can also be a very formal way to ask ¿Cómo estás? Be careful because in this case we're using a reflexive verb. This means that not only you have to conjugate, but you also need to make sure that you're using the correct reflexive pronoun. ¿Cómo se encuentra su esposa? How is your wife doing? Technically, the next expression doesn't mean ¿Cómo estás?, but is related to well-being. That's why I decided to include it. ¿Cómo te fue en o cómo te fue con? And you already saw a couple of examples with these prepositions before. So we are going to use these expressions to ask people how something went. You're going to use them with places. ¿Cómo te fue en la oficina? You're going to use con with people or activities. ¿Cómo te fue con tu examen? Okay, we're about to check the responses to ¿Cómo estás? But before we do that, ¿cómo te fue con esta parte del video? So I have divided these answers in positive answers, neutral responses, and negative responses. Instead of saying bien o muy bien, you can say de lujo o a todo dar. Oye, Daniela, ¿cómo estás? A todo dar. Be careful because these expressions can also be used to describe people or things. For instance, Luis es a todo dar. Luis is great. La película está de lujo. You can also say, todo bien. I know everything is well, but do you mind sharing some details? O bien, bien. Daniela, ¿cómo estás? Bien, bien, gracias. ¿Y tú? So if you wanted to be a little bit more cheeky, you could say bien guapa or bien guapo. And careful because this expression can be perceived as a little bit flirtatious. So imagine a guy that I have a crush on comes and says, Hey Daniela, ¿cómo estás? I would say, bien guapa. I'm very pretty, thanks. In Mexico, we like to play with the sounds of words. So, vientos sounds very similar to bien. ¿Cómo estás? Vientos. You can also say, ahí la llevo. What about neutral answers? Your textbook will say más o menos or regular. Native speakers actually say, más o, no me quejo, así, and this is only used in Spain, or in Mexico, we like to say, dos, or dos, tres. What about the negative responses? In Latin America, we love drama. So we say, de la patada. ¿Cómo va todo? Ay, de la patada, ni me preguntes. Now, in standard Spanish, you can respond to these questions by using adjectives. For example, estoy cansada, estoy enojada, estoy triste, or estoy ocupada. The key here is to find the adjectives that help you convey what you're feeling. I'm going to leave you a link in the description so you can learn more useful adjectives. Okay, so here are my favorite expressions, the ones I get to use when I don't have to be a teacher speaking proper Spanish. For ¿Cómo estás? I like to use ¿Cómo andas? ¿Cómo te ha ido? ¿Cómo te va? ¿Cómo te fue? If somebody asks me, ¿Cómo estás, Daniela? I like to say vientos, todo chido, which is a variation in Mexican Spanish for todo bien, o ahí la llevo. Now I want to know what were your favorite expressions. Leave your answers in the comments. I want to remind you that if you're ready to start practicing your listening, you can check this same lesson in my Spanish immersion channel. If you learned a good number of good expressions to boost your Spanish, please hit the like button and feel free to subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be sharing more videos like this. So that's it for today, guys. I hope to see you soon. Bye!